The Ballon d'Or award has always been known as the most prestigious individual award that you can win as a footballer. The best player over the last 12 months receives this trophy at the France football ceremony every single year. The likes of Johan Cruyff to Eusebio, Van Basten to R9, Messi, and Ronaldo, the best of the best, have won this award for the better part of the last century. But over the course of the last few years, there's been a rising controversy on the legitimacy of this award. No matter how close the race is, no matter who ends up winning it, there will be people screaming rigged about who wins the award. But this year takes it to another level. A controversy that has been unrivaled by any other football ceremony really in the history of the sport. Something so grand that one of the biggest clubs, the biggest club in the history of football, decided not to show up in protest of who was winning the award. Earlier this year, I titled a video, "Why Nobody Deserves to Win the Ballon d'Or in 2024. Now, obviously, that's an exaggeration. I don't actually believe nobody should win the Ballon d'Or, but it was to illustrate a point that the standard of Ballon d'Or is a little bit lower this year, and the Messi versus Ronaldo era is over. Their individual performances, accolades, trophies, goals, and assists are often not going to be imitated. We have to go back to choosing humans to win the Ballon d'Or. And now the standard is much lower. So in 2024, even exiting the summer, you could still make an argument for Ballon d'Or for a few different players. You had Lautaro Martinez, who was the Serie A Golden Boot and won that competition with Inter. He was the Copa America Golden Boot and won that competition with Argentina, scoring the winning goal in the final. You also had Kylian Mbappe, despite falling short with PSG in Champions League, was the joint top scorer across all leagues with Harry Kane. Carvajal won almost every competition he was in, including Euros, and he scored in the Champions League final against Dortmund. You had the likes of Jude Bellingham, who was a great addition to Real Madrid and had a great first season with them. But when it comes down to it, there were just two players that everybody really agreed should win the Ballon d'Or. And it was either going to be one of the two, Vinicius Jr. from Real Madrid or Rodri from Manchester City. And I truly believe that this race for Ballon d'Or in 2024 wouldn't have been all that different from previous years had it not been for one man, Fabrizio Romano. The same guy who's been leaking all of the transfers over the last couple years. He's even gone as far as leaking players' retirements before they get to themselves, which I think might be a bit over the line, but who am I to say? He's also been leaking the winner of Ballon d'Or before the ceremony for the past couple of years, and he's always been correct. Until this year, because Fabrizio had relayed and reinforced information from Marca, a newspaper out of Spain, that Vinicius Jr. would win the Ballon d'Or. Now, I'm not only blaming Fabrizio Romano. In fact, I don't even think he's the biggest culprit in this specific scenario, but just in general, the fact that the media is coming out with this information this early, but then it's not even correct, is actually a big problem. Just about 5 hours before the ceremony began on October 28th, he tweeted that Vinicius Jr. would no longer be traveling to Paris, as he had just found out he's not going to actually win the award. Now, personally, I don't think that even the players should know if they're going to win the award or not beforehand, let alone Fabrizio Romano, let alone the fans. I think the ceremony would be much more fun had nobody known the winner of the award before it actually happens. But I guess such is football in the modern era. We know the winner of these awards before they're actually given the award, and it kills a little bit of the magic. But even when Erling Haaland knew he wasn't going to win Ballon d'Or last year, he still showed up. He still applauded Lionel Messi, and he still congratulated him on winning the award, like a professional would do. And Mats Hummels this year finished dead last out of anybody on the shortlist. He was tied for 29th in the Ballon d'Or rankings. After what I thought was a pretty incredible season at center back for a 35-year-old, he finished dead last and still showed up and showed his support for not just Rodri, but all of the award winners, the club winners, the female Ballon d'Or winners throughout the day, and he was there to show that support. Yet every single player and every single staff member from Real Madrid decided they weren't going to go to the award ceremony because Vinicius Jr. finished second. Now, I think I've made it pretty obvious throughout the video that I'm not a huge fan of Real Madrid's decision of not to go to the ceremony in spite of Rodri. I don't think that it shows very good morals. I think it's classless. I think it shows no sportsmanship, and it makes everybody involved in that decision and anybody who defends it look pretty bad. Now, I think it's going to be very easy to misconstrue my words, and if you're not smart enough to put all of the context together, you could come out just surface level and say, oh, I'm a Real Madrid hater, when realistically I have absolutely no dog in this fight. Now, let me be clear. If your argument is that Vinicius Jr. should have won the Ballon d'Or in 2024, it's a completely valid argument. I think there's so much substance to that, and if that's your opinion, it's completely reasonable. It's just the fact that there's so many people coming out and saying that it wasn't even close, when there is just as valid of an argument for Rodri to win, and even if Lautaro Martinez or somebody else like Jude Bellingham would have won Ballon d'Or, I personally wouldn't have really argued it at all. I think that all of these guys are worthy of this award. It's just the fact that people like the journalists like Fabrizio Romano and Fabrice Hawkins continually reinforced the idea that Vinicius Jr. would win this award for the past 2 months, that it raised the hopes of Vinicius Jr. himself, of Real Madrid, and of Real Madrid fans across the world that Vinicius Jr. would win this award, and then it felt like the rug was pulled out from underneath them just a few hours before the ceremony. And so Real Madrid didn't show up to collect their Best Manager of the Year award. They didn't collect the Best Club of the Year award. They didn't get the honors for having so many players in the top 10 of the Ballon d'Or rankings. They weren't there to support other players, and the winner of the Ballon d'Or, who was from Madrid, Spain. Instead, they decided to boycott it and play kind of victim to the scenario, saying that the only reason Vinicius Jr. didn't win it was due to racism. Claiming Vinicius Jr. didn't win this award due to racism is a bit far-fetched when this exact same organization, France Football, had decorated George Weah as the first ever non-European to win the award, and have also given a Brazilian the award 6 different times. In fact, Eusebio won this award all the way back in 1965. Now, other teammates of Vinny, like Eduardo Camavinga, claim he didn't win Ballon d'Or because of football politics. Now, is Camavinga implying that it was racism, or is this football politics idea a completely separate thing that is outside of football as a reason that Vinicius Jr. didn't win Ballon d'Or? But Camavinga didn't provide any evidence or substance or anything to back up his claim. And at this point, everything that Real Madrid is saying seem more like excuses than they do actual arguments. I recognize the importance of this award. I understand the emotion that goes into it and how much it means to people, even if it is only an individual award. But the lack of emotional maturity, the lack of professionalism, the lack of class that people like Richarlison and Marta have had on their tirades on social media, the acts of Real Madrid, their players and staff not going to the ceremony despite having so many awards given to them just because Rodri finished first and Vinicius Jr. second this year, is honestly unacceptable and a terrible example to any of their fans and the kids that watch this. The only thing that Vinicius Jr. has said ever since declining to even go to Paris for the ceremony after learning he finished second was that he was going to work 10 times harder to win it in the future, which is very respectable in itself, but given the context of the other actions him and Real Madrid had taken that day, it does make it a little bit tougher to root for him in the future. But let me know your guys' thoughts down below, and hopefully the Real Madrid fans that watch my videos are a little bit classier than the ones that I've seen elsewhere on social media. So keep it classy down in the comments, and I'll see you guys again in the next video. Peace out.